Ooh, let me get the chats up. You know how you know what I do. Bring everybody. Whoa, we got a show today. I'm just. It's going to be interesting to know if we can even have these conversations on social media anymore. I'm gonna tell you that. So I'll give a minute for everybody to get in the room. Check you guys out on the chat. Let's pull up the YouTube chat for everybody on the YouTubes. This could be the last time I'm able to stream, but I'm gonna be gracious. I'm gonna be kind. But we gotta have these conversations. What's up, Grant? See you in the YouTube chat. How's everybody going? Do. All right. I think we got the chats ready to go. Bring this one over here. How's it going? How's it going, everybody? All right. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. I was at the Fight Laugh Feast conference, and we'll talk about that in a second. Let's go ahead and start the show, shall we? All right. Let's go ahead.
When a government can confiscate the earnings of the people with no restraint or no limit whatsoever on the amount that government takes, then government has become the master.
Didn't you say that all services were worth at least $5.15, and here there is a service that's being rendered to you personally, which you are not compensating at all?
I said to you earlier, unless someone decides that they want to volunteer.
During the election, all this enthusiasm for Bernie Sanders was taking place while people in Venezuela, under a socialist government, were starving. They were breaking into grocery stores to get desperate to get food.
Regulations.
Some regulations.
Regulation.
What do you think should be the proper income tax rate?
Well, the best would be 0.
Welcome back to another episode of Law and Profits here on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. I'm King Ginger, and the mercy of the wicked is cruel. That's right. The mercy of the wicked is cruel. And I was at the Fight Laugh Feast conference. It's a rally, right? The Fight Laugh Feast rally in South Dakota this week. It was a great time. It was amazing to be there among all the people that were there. It was a different audience, which was really cool. In Tennessee, there was a lot of white collar, a lot of tech people, a lot of technology people. But here, there's a lot of farmers, a lot of blue collar people, a lot of people who owned acres of land. It was nice. It was nice. I talked to these 3 kids. I don't remember their names, so I'm sorry if I don't remember your names to give you guys a shout out, but you guys were giving me the lowdown on peacock farming. It's one of the highlights of being there was just learning about the gestation period of peacocks and why they're so expensive and what do peacocks taste like. It was fantastic stuff you can only get at the Fight Laugh Feast conference. But you know what's amazing is like how many people were there, because honestly I didn't think that a lot of people were going to show up to South Dakota for a conference, and there was like 800 people there. It was insane. It was a lot of people. And I have to say, you know, when the other big evil organizations like the Gospel Coalition or let's just be honest. Can we just say it? Like MacArthur shutting down the Shepherds Conference. Like when you see these organizations are shutting down their conferences, and then you see the people that are showing up to the ones that do go on, like Fight Laugh Feast, who aren't afraid, who don't have mask policies for their conference. Actually, I never saw one person wearing a mask at the conference other than the employees, who I believe were made to do so. Darren Stead just sent a super chat $5. He says, "What's your thoughts on Doge?" You know what? I had some Doge for like an hour. Like I got it when it was super cheap, and I just saw that ticker just going up and down, and I was like, "Nah, this is stupid." I sold it back for the same price. So I regret that now. But anyway, so the conference was great. Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Darren. The conference was amazing. The conference was great. It was encouraging just to see people coming together and fighting and laughing and feasting. I got the chills lasted longer. I thought I wouldn't have chills, but I did. The chills that I get when we sing the Fight Laugh Feast hymn. The come is it Come Men of God Be Strong? Is that what it is? Whatever. It has an actual title. I just call it the Fight Laugh Feast hymn. Because each verse of it is based on fighting and laughing and feasting. It's fantastic. And when you hear all these men singing this song, and at the end, we'll fight, we'll laugh, we'll feast. It's just chills, man. It never goes away. So it was a great time at the conference. Thanks everybody that came by, stopped by the Lore booth to see what we got going on with Lore. It was really great time. I want to talk about Bruce Jenner today, but before that, I want to bring in I just want to play this clip. This is of Ruslan, and he's talking about essentially like Jeff Durbin and James White attacking Eric Mason and all this stuff. And he has Eric Mason on the show, and he mentions this thing, and I think he stepped into something that I don't think he's because I think Ruslan wants to have honest conversations. I think he's a guy, he wants to have people on his show. He wants to have these sort of conversations and in-depth discussion. He sort of wants to go, I guess you could say, sort of like the Joe Rogan route, where he just has people that he disagrees with on his show. So he asked, but he made the mistake. He asked Eric Mason why shouldn't we have more people on the show? And I want to bring this up because I think this is really important. So let's just listen to Ruslan right here talk about this.
Right, and that's my thing is like knowing some of the work that Epiphany does. It always seems like you guys have been on the front lines in Philly, being the hands and feet of Jesus, and for some reason that gets overlooked and it gets just escalated to, well, you know, this is promoting this cultural Marxism or this is promoting this, without really sitting down and having the conversation. And I don't know, you're brushing it off. You're very Jay-Z-esque in the way you just...
Yeah, so Ruslan is saying, hey, why don't you guys just have the conversation? Well, why don't people just sit down, have the conversation? Why don't we see Eric Mason and Vadi Bakum together on the stage having a conversation? Why don't we see Eric Mason on the Fight Laugh Feast Network on Cross Politic? Why are we talking in our own spheres and not having these conversations? Now, I've been saying this about the emergent church for a long time. Way back when the emergent church was rising up in popularity, people said the same thing. Hey, why doesn't the emergent church just get together? Why doesn't Rob Bell just get together with these other guys that, you know, let's say the Phil Johnson or whatever, and just have a conversation? Let's talk about these issues. Let's open up the Bible. Let's just have a discussion. And it never goes that way. It never happens. And I always find it interesting, and I think it's a very clear thing that those who are on the right side, the ones that know that they're accurate, are more than willing to always have this conversation. It's getting the other people to come on, the people that disagree with them, to come on and have this conversation. So listen to what Eric Mason says right here.
Responded to that. I get more like triggered by some of this stuff because I've been a part in seeing the work that Blueprint does, seeing the work that Epiphany does, seeing you guys being in these communities and being the hands and feet of Jesus, which is, I guess that's the part that's frustrating to me about it. And
so he's seeing all the stuff that Eric Mason is doing, and then he's hearing everything that's being said from the other side. And he's trying to say, let's just have a conversation. And Eric Mason puts him in his place right away and lets him know that this is not the thing you're allowed to do when you hold to a Marxist position. I'm sorry, I said it. It is. And this is why Eric Mason's response is a Marxist response.
And is, like you mentioned, Vadi, how do we move towards some type of dialogue in terms of having reasonable conversations? Because it seems like go ahead.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Like, I don't talk about them, so why do I need to dialogue with them? They slandered me. So when you slander someone, you don't dialogue. It's not now time to come dialogue like we're having a equitable conversation. You went out, you did a whole conference on Dr. Eric Mason, woke church or whatever else, right? And you know, it's like when people say we need to sit down and dialogue, I don't talk about them. Like, I'm doing the work of the ministry, right? You know, and
It's not true. I just want to be very clear that Eric Mason is not being honest here, and he's not being honest here because anybody that knows Eric Mason knows that he's always talking about white people on his page. He's always talking about this stuff. He's always talking about conservatives. He just doesn't drop them by name. Now we come along, the conservative side comes along and says, "Hey, Eric Mason, name drop, bam, there it is. There's the name." You can't say that. It's not true. This is why it's not true. Here's what you said is wrong. And he goes, "You're slandering me. We can never have any sort of dialogue." And it's like, no, we just mentioned your name because you said something publicly and you need to be held accountable for it. Now, this idea that you can't have any conversations with people that disagree with you, which is what Eric Mason is saying, because nowhere has anybody slandered Eric Mason. They've pointed out the flaws in what he believes. So here's my suggestion. This is to Ruslan. Ruslan, you can go back and you can watch my YouTube channel. I have had multiple friendly conversations with people that disagree with me. Socialists, some of the precept politics stuff I did during the debate season last year. Was it last year? Maybe some point. I did some precept politics, and I had people call in that were watching the show that were not. They weren't. I don't even think some of them were Christians. They were just liberals. They were actual Marxists. They would call on my show, and we had a friendly conversation. I laughed, had fun, had a good time. So Ruslan, here's what I would say. I am willing to have an unedited conversation with you, live, just like this show is live right now, live, and then I'll record it on my end. You can record it on your end. Doesn't matter. You can live stream it at the same time I live stream it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me at all. That way there can be accountability. No one can say, "Oh, well, you edited the video," or anything like that. Let's just have a conversation about this stuff. And look, if you don't like the terms I use, if you don't like that I use Marxist, then come on and let's have a dialogue and explain to me how I'm wrong. So that's my open invitation to Ruslan. Let's have that conversation. Let's have that dialogue. Now, somebody said, I don't know if this is true or not, somebody said that he only has conversations with people that help boost the algorithm. So he has 68,000 more subscribers than me. So he probably won't waste his time. But I'm just asking you, from one person to another, let's just have a conversation. It's not make it about ratings or the YouTube algorithm or any of this stuff. Let's just sit down and talk. And it can be as long as you want. It can be as short as you want. Let's just sit down and talk. And here's what I would like to talk about. I want to talk about police brutality because I'm against police brutality. Somebody pulled up some post I did 3 years ago in 2017, 4 years ago in 2017, in the Reform Bars group with me talking about how I'm concerned that although I oppose police brutality, I'm concerned that the opposition or the solutions to police brutality are going to lead Christian hip hop down a bad path. And I think that's turned out to be true 4 years ago. I said, look, if we're not rooting our solutions to police brutality in what the scripture says, we're not going to solve the problem, but we're going to make things worse. And that's what I said. My solution is, my position is that we can't solve police brutality by going for a bigger police state. And this is what you have when you have like a Biden or you have a liberal sort of mindset. So again, I haven't changed in 4 or 5 years. I've had the same positions. So Ruslan, anybody knows out there how to give to Ruslan? Want to let Ruslan know? I want to have a conversation with you. I want to have an open dialogue with you. It'll be fun. We will laugh. We will not call each other names or anything like that. And look, guys, Ruslan, proof that I will not call you any sort of crazy names or do anything ridiculous. I've street preached with some of the craziest drunkards in the world. And they've attacked me and all this stuff. And I've never responded in anger or anything like that. So Ruslan, that's a thing. Let's have a conversation. It could be an hour long. It could be 2 hours long. Doesn't matter to me. Let's just sit down. Let's go over the issues that we see, and then let's go, okay, well, here's an issue. What's your solution from Scripture? And then I'll present my solution from Scripture. That's what we'll do. And we can get to the core of the issues. Like, is that solution Marxist? Is that liberal? Is it? I don't like. Let's have that conversation. Let's have that dialogue. You know, it could be this is just a Republican solution. You could argue with me. That's just a Republican solution, not a Christian solution, or that's just a libertarian solution and not a Christian solution. Doesn't matter. Let's just have that conversation. Let's open up the Word. Let's go through the Old Testament. Let's go through the law, the general equity. Let's go through all of that stuff and figure out how do we solve the problems that we see in society. It's simple. So I'm down for doing that. If you're willing, we can have that conversation. So that is what I have to say about Ruslan. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think a lot of people want to see it. I think people want to see some sort of conversation happening with people that disagree. It's okay. It's okay to have conversations with people that disagree. Eric Mason, it's okay. Like, we can have this, we can record it. That's the beauty of having technology that allows us to engage and interact and debate and have trolls in the chat. Like, that's all part of it. It's part of the glory of the technological gifts God has given us. We should use it that way. Let's have those debates. Let's have those. Let's have those fun conversations. So I'm down, Ruslan. If you're down, open invitation anytime you want. Let's do it. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I think we can enjoy ourselves while we do it and not be not be jerks. So with that being said, now we have to go to a serious issue. We have to talk about Bruce Jenner running for office for governor in California. This is something that's really important. But before we do that, I think it's really important to play this clip, which I'm going to pull up. This is a clip of, hold up, wait a minute. I got to pull it up real quick because I'm on the wrong YouTube account. Wah, wah. And it's at the bottom. Of course. Here it is. All right. Sorry about that. I thought I had that one cleared up. This is a 1-minute clip from Media Matters, a big liberal organization. But I think it's important to let's just play this clip. And this is Sean Hannity. This clip was from 2014. So what's that? 6-7 years. So this clip's 7 years old. This is a clip of Sean Hannity from before. This was when he was doing a college radio show. So this was before Fox News. But I think it's really important because we want to know what happened to Sean Hannity. So check this out.
This is the Media Matters Minute. I'm John Kerr. In his new book, The Loudest Voice in the Room, New York Magazine journalist Gabriel Sherman describes the start of Sean Hannity's career as a conservative radio personality on KCSB, the UC Santa Barbara College station. The short-lived show was canceled in 1989 after Hannity made a number of extremely derogatory smears about gay people. Here's one of them.
I think anyone listening to the show that believes homosexuality is just a normal lifestyle has been brainwashed. And you know, it's very dangerous if we start accepting lower and lower forms of behavior as the normal. They try and equate homosexuality with, with the rights of, say, minorities. They try and group it in the same link, and it has nothing to do with it.
And here is his interaction with a caller who tells Hannity that she is a lesbian mother.
This lady just had a child, you know how they do that now? Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
That's also a really disgusting remark.
I feel sorry for your child, but do you want to make any more comments?
Turkey baster babies. I feel sorry for your child. So there we go. That's Sean Hannity being pretty open about his positions on homosexuality and lesbianism and having kids and that sort of thing, and like very very clear stuff. He was very outspoken, but I think we've seen a pattern with Sean Hannity lately, and that pattern with Sean Hannity is whoever is on the verge of power, whoever has the best shot, Sean Hannity becomes their best friend. It doesn't matter if they represent the core values of what conservatives are or not. It doesn't matter. Any of that stuff. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is, are they going to get in power for the Republican Party? He is, by all accounts, a simp of the GOP. Like, that is Sean Hannity. He is a simp. He is a simp of those in power. He wants to be friends with those in power so that he can get something from it. By the way, we recorded a cross-politic episode where we kind of discussed this a little bit more today. I was privileged to be invited to come on there and talk about that. But I wanted to sort of go into more detail than they did, sort of kind of take our time, like, let's go through this thing, because I think this is a really terrible thing we're seeing take place, where we have someone who claims to stand for conservative values, but they're putting into office and endorsing someone in office, or giving a platform to someone running for office that is not at all part of the conservative values that makes supposedly what used to make the Republican Party a conservative Christian party. So let's I mean, I don't know if they were ever a Christian party, but for them, I mean, yeah, you know what I mean. So here we go. Let's play this, and we'll just get through as much of this as we can. I know I want to jump to the very end, but let's just get through this as much as we can.
So just how will Caitlin restore that California dream, and can she actually beat the state's very powerful Democratic machine? One note, by the way, moments ago, Caitlin wrapped up a private event with supporters. They decided to stick around. Welcome, all of you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
I gotta stop here. So Caitlyn Jenner is running on freedom. She's running against tyranny. She's running against the government, the businesses that have been shut down, running against all this stuff. And all of her supporters, every single one of her supporters here, has a mask on. Every one of them. Every one of them. None of them are defying tyranny. None of them are standing up for what Bruce Jenner is saying. So let's continue to have let's continue to watch this. This right here, I think, is really important. This is really important because this tells me that the GOP doesn't really care about the mask mandates. They don't really care about this stuff because in their private events, like we said, this was a private event. In the private event, they all have masks on with a recall Gavin Newsom mask. So let's continue this. It's just really telling, I think.
Caitlyn Jenner now joins us.
Wait a second. After that opening?
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
That's the campaign?
Yeah, I'm moving on. Yeah, that was the scariest thing I've ever...
So notice, first off, real quick, notice everybody everybody has got a mask on, and Caitlyn and, Bruce and, I'm going to keep trying to... Bruce and Sean Hannity are 6 feet separated. They're socially distanced. They're like, these people don't really care about the damage that's being done by these things. They don't really care. They're just following the rules just like everybody else is.
Heard, yeah.
Well, it's all true.
It is true. It absolutely is true. First of all, I got a gift.
Oh, thank you. What is it?
I know.
love gifts.
We're into the face mask thing out here in California, so I thought I would get you one.
Look at that! Did you? We're gonna do the face mask thing out here in California. So, look, she is not for freedom. She's not for this stuff. And by the way, did you know she's a transvestite? He. Oh my gosh, this is so difficult. This is so difficult because it's such a confusing mess. I apologize. I know when we did the Fight Laugh Feast show in when we did the Fight Laugh Feast show in South Dakota, I accidentally said Caitlyn, and Pastor Toby got mad at me. I thought he was gonna not let me have communion at the table for saying that. So okay, apologies. By the way, if I accidentally say Caitlyn or accidentally call him or her, I mean the opposite. So.
Hannity supports Caitlyn. He's not allowed to. He's on the news. Okay.
Recalled Gavin Newsom.
By the way, I support the recall.
Yeah.
Let me be very clear.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing when you think about it. I just have such respect for athletes. You know, you didn't win the gold in 72. You came back in 76, and you won the gold. A great Olympian, a great champion. And you really, well, I always say politics is a blood sport.
It is.
And a part of me is saying, what the hell are you thinking? This is hard.
It was not an easy decision.
You know, it's interesting to me. Let's just point out right away that Hannity is speaking to Bruce like a man. He's remembering his peak moments that he had as a man. The fact that he was an Olympian. The fact that he was an athlete. The fact that he was an American hero for being a man. And then he's saying, now you're going to get into politics and it's a blood sport. This is a conversation Hannity is having with someone that Hannity still believes, at least subconsciously, is a man. Because you don't talk this way to a woman running for office. You don't talk this way when a woman is running for office. You don't say, man, politics is a blood sport. That's not the way men talk to women who are running for office. And so there's something here, even Hannity can't escape, is the fact that he is talking to a man in a costume, a man that is dressed like a clown in makeup and the wig and everything, but he is talking to a man. And it's troublesome too, because he's not just talking to a man, he's talking to a man dressed as a woman who claims to be representing conservative values. Now, we just heard Sean Hannity say about the problems of homosexuality. He said that it's more troublesome. It's troublesome to see these sort of things. He worries about the child who is the turkey baster child who is brought up and raised in a lesbian home. He worries about those things. But yet, here we go. Bruce Jenner is running for office, and he is going to just give him a platform. It's really disturbing. Because let me just be very clear here. Trans people do not represent the conservative party. They do not represent conservative values. We have an issue here where the Republicans are propping up a dude dressed as a woman and saying this guy represents conservative values, and it's not. And they're all buying into the lie that he is a woman, and they're buying into the lie. All this sort of stuff. It's really disturbing. It's really disturbing, and I want to point this out. I've said this before. I'll probably say this a bunch of times as we continue to follow this election in California this year. But Bruce Jenner, if the Republicans back Bruce Jenner, there is no possibility. There's no possibility that they will end abortion. If they cannot stand up now and say, this does not represent our values as a conservative, as a Republican even. This does not represent our values. If they don't have the courage to do that, they're never going to end abortion. They're never going to do it. So let's continue this.
It took an awfully long time. I've always been involved in politics. For the LGBT community, I used to go back. But in 1973, I graduated from college in Iowa. I packed up my 63 VW Bug and drove across the country, everything I owned in the back seat. And I was coming to California, the Golden State. I went to San Jose. Why? Because San Jose was where all the great athletes lived. I had met him in my first Olympics in 1972. And me as a decathlete, I wanted to learn from all these other great athletes. In fact, in 1976, we placed fifth as a nation with 3 gold medals, a silver and a bronze within a 5-mile radius of my house. I put myself with some of these great athletes and I learned so much. I want to do the same thing now. I want to take that same fight, that same spirit, go to Sacramento, surround myself with some of the smartest people out there. I am an outsider. I understand that. Smartest people out there, because now I'm in a race for solutions. I need to find solutions to be able to turn this state around.
I want you to know something to point out throughout this interview. Sean Hannity is not debating Bruce on these subjects, on these issues. He is not saying, well, wait a minute, how can you, as a trans person, represent conservative family values? He's not, how can you, as a trans person, represent the conservative stances against homosexuality? And the truth is that as long as the Republican Party endorses Bruce Jenner to run for governor, we have lost our ability to stand on conviction against homosexual marriage, against these anti-bullying campaigns or hate speech for trans people. We've lost the ability to do this. And Hannity is just letting this man talk. And I love what was said on Cross Politic. They said Hannity is taking a joke seriously. There's a joke on stage, and Hannity is taking it seriously the entire time. And I think that's right. God is judging our nation, but He's not just judging our nation because of what liberals are doing. He's judging our nation because of what conservatives are doing. And this should outrage the conservative base in California. This should fire them up very passionately, because what's happening here is a reverse play. They're faking a pass. The trans LGBT lobbies, they're faking a pass. They're saying, hey, hey, they're acting like, oh, we don't want this. We don't want Caitlyn Jenner. We don't want Caitlyn Jenner to be office because she doesn't represent us. And meanwhile, they're like, we're taking down their party. We're taking down their party. They're falling right into the trap. And this is how the liberals fight. Through subversion. This is how liberals fight. They fight this way through subversion. They fight this way through underhanded tactics. They want, trust me, they want Bruce Jenner to be the nominee. They want Bruce Jenner. They wouldn't even be upset if Bruce Jenner became the governor, because it's a win for them. Because the moment that Bruce Jenner becomes the governor, Republicans have to sit down and shut up when it comes to trans rights. We have to sit down and shut up when it comes to LGBT rights. We have to sit down and shut up when it comes to homosexual marriage and the nuclear family and all those values that we support. Cinnabons13 made a good comment. He says, Nick Fuentes had a great segment on his show about this interview. Stuff like this legitimizes sexual deviance to conservatives. That's absolutely true. This legitimizes sexual deviancy. And if the conservatives are not going to stand up and fight for this, we are done. We are done. Because here's the thing. I don't want a limited government that supports mentally disabled people like Bruce Jenner running for office. I don't want a limited government that does that. There's a quote from I think it's Greg Bonson, and Greg Bonson says that he would rather live under a godly monarch than a pagan democracy. It's so true. It's so much better to live under a godly monarch than a pagan democracy. And I just want to point out here, I know we're not even getting into the interview. I think I want to jump to the point at the end because I think that's really important. But I think it's important to point out here. What did I think was important to point out? I just lost track. Let's continue. I'll just continue to play, and then we'll see if it comes back to me.
I absolutely love this state. I'm a fighter, always have been. I come from a long line of fighters. My grandfather was in World War I, was in the dead pile. Somebody was walking by and heard a moan, and they said, "Oh my God, somebody's alive in here," and pulled him out, and he wound up going on and living a very good life.
Dead pile, I mean, they thought that he was dead.
He thought he was dead. Yeah, he had the tag on his foot and everything. But went on to live a good life. My father, when he was 19, in fact, welcome to my hangar. This is actually my hangar. I have pictures on the wall of my father over there when he was 19. When World War II was breaking out, he wanted to fight. And so he joined the 5th Ranger Battalion. Landed with the first boats on...
It's clear to me that Bruce Jenner comes from a long line of men. And it's interesting that this man dressed as a woman, when he's having this interview with Sean Hannity, is speaking to Sean Hannity about the heroics of men as she's dressed as a woman. It doesn't get more effeminate than that, people. It doesn't get anything more crazy and psychotic than this. And she is duping Hannity, right? He is duping Hannity right now. I'm not. It's gonna be a long election cycle with this man, and it's not gonna stop with him. So, but look, this is they're playing a game here, and Hannity either doesn't see it or doesn't care because he wants to be close to power. I don't know, but they are playing a game here. And they're winning this chess match completely. Because there is... Look, we have to understand this. Bruce Jenner becoming the governor of California is not a win. It's not a win for us. It is a failure and it is a judgment. Look, a lot of people say, yeah, but she's the best of two options, right? It's Gavin Newsom or Bruce Jenner, right? It's Gavin or Bruce, right? Okay. And we're just trying to delay the inevitable. But at some point you have to say, well, I understand if it's Gavin Newsom or Bruce Jenner. I understand that Bruce Jenner is saying that he's for small government and he's in favor of business. He's in favor of reducing taxes, all this sort of thing. I understand that. However, a vote for Bruce Jenner is a kind of vote that no matter how small your government is, it doesn't matter if the entire state of California is sunken into the ocean by the wrath of God. There has to be a point where we have to say, wait a minute. Wait a minute. These conservative values that we hold to, we have to do it from a Christian perspective and not just from a GOP political party perspective, because it can lead to the judgment of God. And this is what we're seeing here. We're seeing the judgment of God.
Omaha Beach. 364 guys in his division. 60 came back alive.
Wow. Let me get
in. And just so...
Bring on
he's buried at Arlington with all his buddies. And I thought to myself, you know what? If we can fight, because we got to fight. And you say it all the time. If we can fight,
oh my!
Somebody's got to stand up. You know, I'm not going up Omaha Beach. I'm going up in Sacramento, but we have to change things. I love this country. I'm a patriarch.
I love this country. I'm a patriarch. Now, this is just upside down. We're living in the upside down. How is it that Caitlyn Jenner just called himself a patriarch? Like, what is going on? Now, why didn't Sean Hannity jump in? Why didn't he jump in and go, hold up now? Did you just call yourself a patriarch? This is insanity. This is insanity. And the problem is, we don't have any churches in California that are open that can speak out against this madness. All the pastors have shut their doors. It's insane. This is insane. He's a patriarch, people. This man, dressed as a woman, in clown makeup is a patriarch.
I love this state. The state's done so much for me over the years, but I've watched it crumble right in front of my eyes. And you got to stand up, you know? And so I knew it would not be easy. I knew it'd be tough. But you know what? California's worth fighting for. And that's what I'm doing.
California is worth fighting for, but it's not worth selling your soul to win the fight. Not at all. So this is just clown world. This is just insane. Just unbelievable. Well, you know, the Bible says, choose men from among you. Right? That's for when you're talking about electing officials. Choose men from among you. Men who fear God, who are trustworthy, and don't take a bribe. Is this someone you think fears God, is a man, is trustworthy, and doesn't take a bribe? Is this somebody I don't think at least two of those requirements are not there? It's really discouraging to see.
Let's talk about, I want to, in the course of the time we have here together,
right,
I want to get specific.
Okay.
On very specific issues. Let's start with a general overall, overarching. I want you to grade Gavin Newsom. I want you to define what a compassionate disruptor is, words you've used to describe yourself. And then we'll get into the specifics of what it would take for California.
Just real quick, notice that Hannity he's not acknowledging the fact that he's sitting in front of a man that's dressed up as a woman. He's just bought in. He's bought into this thing. You know what? Let's just go back. We got to go back and play this clip. Now that we've seen this stuff, let's go back and play this clip.
Radio personality on KCSB, the UC Santa Barbara College station. The short-lived show was canceled in 19 of extremely about gay people. Here's one of them.
I think anyone listening to the show that believes homosexuality is just a normal lifestyle has been brainwashed. And, you know, it's very dangerous if we start accepting lower and lower forms of behavior as the normal. They try and equate homosexuality with, you know, with the rights of, say, minorities. They try and group it in the same link, and it has nothing to do with it.
And here...
So there's Sean Hannity speaking very clearly about homosexuality and the dangers of embracing this thing. And yet, here he is now. This is probably maybe 20 or 30 years later, at least. And here he is, sitting down with Bruce Jenner, dressed as a woman, acting like nothing's wrong at all. Like nothing's wrong at all. It's insane.
A state you clearly love to recover. And are you a Republican or a Democrat? You know,
what I see in Gavin Newsom is a politician up to special interests, makes his decision as a politician in special interests, and the hypocrisy that is going on right now. It's like there's one set of rules for Sacramento, and there's another set of rules for everybody else. I mean, you've seen the video of him at the French Laundry, okay? I can't go down to my restaurant and all the employees in that restaurant down.
Look at, oh my gosh.
They're not working, okay? And he's up there dining. We see Nancy Pelosi. I can't go to my hair salon. All the salons in my town are closed. Nobody can go in there. Nobody's working. People are losing money. But she can sneak in. And it's the hypocrisy of what's going on. Yes, it is a dynasty, I guess you could say, in Sacramento. They've really been in charge for the last 40 years. I mean, we had Reagan come in a little bit, Arnold come in a little bit as Republicans, but it's been a dynasty. And as we see what happens here, and in the recall, everybody was behind the recall. They needed 1.5 million votes. They got 2.1. But of course, the Democrats had to verify every signature. Mm-hmm. Isn't it shocking?
It doesn't shock me.
And eventually they had...
Okay. Anyways, this is like all I can take. I want to jump to this end point because this is where Bruce is talking about meeting with his pastor to discuss whether he should run. So let's I think I'd probably just jump a little bit forward here. We'll just play this out, and then I'll find it, and we'll get to this part.
Any issues in their life that they're struggling, and everybody does. Everybody's got stuff they have to deal with. And if they have any faith in their soul whatsoever, they sit there and they go, God, why'd you do this?
Look at his hands.
Why is this issue for me of identity in my head 24 hours a day, every day, 365 days out of the year? You can't take 2 aspirin, get plenty of sleep, wake up the next morning, and you're fine. It's just always there. It's who you are.
Now, you have to repent, Bruce. You have to turn from your sin. You have to beg God to save you. That's how you get fixed from this. And I hope Bruce does it. I hope Bruce repents. I hope he gets connected somehow with Kanye's pastor. I hope somehow through that connection he hears the gospel and repents. But this is a problem. If this is something that affects you every day, 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day, your mind isn't in the right state to run for the governor. That's just not okay.
But why? And so this question was always in my heart. And I sat down with my pastor, and you know what?
Who is that pastor?
I thought, is there a reason for this? Am I doing the right thing? Do I need to come out and make a difference in probably the most marginalized community in the world? After a long thought, I said, you know what? At this point in my life, my kids are raised, everybody's fine. Maybe it's time I take care of myself. Because when that day comes and you go up to the pearly gates and you're walking up the stairs and you're seeing God in front of you, and you just ask that question, did I do a good job? Did I do the right thing?
No, you didn't.
And just hope he says, hey, come on in.
That's not how it works,
I did
Bruce.
So that's what my life's been about. I'm just trying to be myself, and I can be myself now. I couldn't do it before because I had too many secrets in my book, Secrets of My Life. I got all my secrets out. I have no secrets.
Oh, and then the video pauses. So there we go. You see that he has embraced this sort of works righteousness, which is just sad to hear. It doesn't matter if you're trans or gay or anything. That just this idea that you're going to stand before God after you die, and God's going to let you in based off the work you do. That's a problem. You know, Joshua says this guy is begging for the gospel. He absolutely is. He needs someone to come to him and say, look, you cannot earn your way to heaven. You are a sinner. And the only hope you have is that Christ has died, he was buried, he rose again, and he is seated at the right hand of the Father where he's making all things new. That's the only hope Bruce Jenner has in this world. That's the only hope. His hope isn't in his family. It's not in his wealth. It's not in political power. It's not in any of this. It's the fact that Christ is seated at the right hand of God. That is where Bruce Jenner's hope is. And when you see this guy, and he's crying, he's talking about his secrets. And he's hoping that somehow he can do something that God will overlook his secrets and let him into heaven. That is not how it works, Bruce. It's not how it works. It works through repentance and faith in Jesus Christ. That's it. That's what happens. And so to all the Republicans in California, all the conservatives in California, the Christians in California, please reject this. Please reject this sort of mentality that says this is okay because at least it's not the other guy. We're in a world right now where these sins are they're so pushed aside as just normal everyday things. But these are not normal everyday sins. This isn't coveting your neighbor's car. This isn't the sort of sins that you go and you work out with your pastor and the pastor prays for you, that sort of thing. This is a sin that is a crime in the Old Testament. This is a criminal act according to Scripture. It's very bad. And the reason is because it strikes at the heart and at the core of the family. And as Rushdoony says, the family is the pillar of society. And if you strike at the core of the family, you're committing treason against the entire nation. So this is not an issue of the lesser of two evils here. This is not that. And the Republican Party has no basis. They have no solid foundation to stand on anything dealing with homosexuality, the LGBT movement. They cannot be in opposition to any of this stuff as long as they let this pass. And shame on Sean Hannity. Shame on Sean Hannity for doing this, for embracing this, for accepting this. This is not the Sean Hannity just 10 years ago. You can actually go back and go on YouTube, watch some of the old Hannity and Combs clips with Alan Combs and him debating LGBT rights, debating gay marriage, debating all these things. This is a different Sean Hannity. And it's because he simps for power. He's a simp. That's all there is to it with Sean. He's a simp. This guy will do anything to be able to get phone calls from those in power. And I just want to say too, that I've always been in opposition to Trump, where Trump was worthy of being opposed. And I think we have to come back to this. This is very important. When we said Trump is the lesser of two evils and we let him get into office, knowing that he posed in Playboy magazine, that he was an adulterer, that he said all these terrible things about grabbing women's private parts, right? Like, that is real. Like, that actually happened. And I'm going to tell you, although I'm thankful he was our president, and I think he did a fantastic job, more than I ever could have imagined. I think when we voted him in, knowing those things about him, I think we paved the way for Bruce Jenner to run for governor. I think we paved the way. That was because we said how a man honors the sacred aspects of marriage, whether he treats marriage as sacred or not, whether he values marriage. We tossed that aside for Trump. We tossed that aside. And when we did, it opened the floodgates. And now we have a man dressed as a woman in a clown costume running for office, and with the full support of one of the biggest leaders of the GOP, at least one of the biggest mouthpieces, for sure. And it just makes you go, what's going on? It makes you wonder what's going on. It makes me wonder what Rush Limbaugh would say. It makes me wonder what Tucker Carlson will say. Will everybody just fall in line now? There are other Republicans running in the primary in California. Bruce is not the only guy. But the Republicans are looking around and saying, he's got the most money. He can raise the most money. So we're just gonna abandon all our principles. We're gonna abandon all our values, all because he's got the best shot to win, and he's got the most money. That's all it is. That's all it is. So I just want before I go, I want to say this very important point. This is very important. When the pro-life lobbies when the pro-life lobbies make these moves and they put in a heartbeat bill and they reject just ending abortion outright. And their argument for that is, if we go too far, if we just outright end abortion, if we do something like that, we won't gain the support of the Republican Party. We'll lose people in the Republican Party. We'll lose the moderate Republicans. I just want to say, who cares? Because those people are putting up people like Bruce Jenner. So listen, I don't care about the pro-life lobbies and their aim to gain the respect of the GOP anymore. I don't care about anybody trying to gain the respect of the GOP if they can allow this to happen. This is not a joke. I mean, it is a joke. It absolutely is a joke. Let me just say that. Let me just say that again. This is a joke. And that's how we got to treat it. We have to laugh. This is the fighting, laughing, and feasting, right? We have to laugh. This is absurd. This is clown world stuff. This is just insane. It just doesn't make any sense. It's terrible on all counts. But this is what we're dealing with now. This is sort of the country that we live in. And I'm going to tell you, if the solution, we look around and we look at California and we say, California's under judgment. The whole United States is under judgment, but specifically looking at California, we can say California's under judgment. Judgment is supposed to cause us to turn to Christ. It's to cause us to open up the Word of God, to call out for repentance, to rip our clothes in sackcloth and ashes. It's to call us to turn to the gospel and to put our faith in Him. That's what judgment's doing. But when judgment causes you to go even more crazy, even more insane, to be even more ridiculous and reject God, well, it's time for the second plague at that point. Like, that's what happens. First plague, COVID. Got it. Second plague. What's that going to be? What's going to be worse than COVID? Well, we're going to find out in California for sure. We're going to find out. Because God's not going to let this go. God isn't sitting back going, man, I thought that COVID was really bad, man, but they didn't really even, they're not really turning back to me. I guess that was it. That's all I could do. No, God increases His wrath each judgment. And He's going to judge harsher and more stricter in these judgments the more we just embrace insanity. So that's what I have to say. That's what I have to say on this. We are in a very dangerous, bad spot. You think COVID is bad? You think mask regulations are bad? You think the government locking people in their homes is bad? We're about to see Plague 2.0. And California's helping establish that for us. Really concerning, really dangerous. It should bring us to tears. It should make us weep, and it should make us fear. And I would say it would be time for the churches now. Now would be a good time for the churches in California to stand up and do something, except for the fact they're not meeting at all. And the ones that are meeting outside. They're doing all these regulations and stipulations. They're taking people's temperature before they get there. They're not serious. They're not serious churches. So, anyways, I think that's it for today's show. I'll stay around for a minute. Well, I'll answer some questions from the chat. If anybody has any questions in the chat. So, somebody said, somebody was asking about crypto, I thought. I guess. Oh, yeah, that was the super chat in the YouTube. Somebody said they watched the whole video with Ruslan. What was irritating is the fact that he didn't even make an effort to engage any of the arguments by Jeff or James White or Vadi. Yeah, that Eric Mason. Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't. Like you said, I don't even talk about those people. It's like, but he does. He just doesn't drop their names. And he's mad because one side has the courage to drop those names. Josh Quintero says, bro, we got a guy named Major Williams. He's a candidate. Oh yeah, I think they talked about him on Cross Politic today when we were recording the show. Major Williams. Let me see. Let me look into him. I think people are excited about him. I mean, he's not going to win because the Republicans want the credibility of electing a trans governor. Major Williams for governor. Let's check this out real quick. See who this guy is. It's time to think Major for governor. Whoa, it's a black guy. Whoa. See, now there's some diversity intersections right there. It's pro-God, family, freedom, life, law enforcement, firefighters, first responders. He's against mandatory vaccinations, human trafficking. Well, that's good to know. Human trafficking. Voter fraud, high taxes, over-regulations, defunding the police. He's against that. Well, online censorship, communism, socialism. But he's also against hate groups. Well, what does that mean? Yeah. Somebody says, "Can't you get Jeff Durbin to be on a Ruslan show?" I mean, I could. I'm in Phoenix now, but I would say that Jeff should probably go on the show. It'd be fun. It'd be a good time. I mean, I'm not in Phoenix now. I moved to Idaho, so I'm not working with Apologia anymore. But I'll tell you this. When I was the producer for Apologia Studios, I tried all the time. To get people of differing opinions on the show to have a discussion, to engage in debate or whatever. And I could never get anybody. I remember the time I asked, I finally got in touch with like Russell Moore's like press person, PR person. And I said, "Hey, Russell Moore, we hear Russell Moore's coming out with a new book. We'd like to have him on the show to talk about it." And her response back to me was, "Well, can you send us the questions in advance?" And I was like, "No." No, we're not even going to engage in conversation when people want the questions in advance. Just, we're not going to script a show. That's just not how we're going to do it. It's just not good. So that was Russell Moore's people. So look, these people have people around them, and these people around them, they're either PR people or they make it difficult to actually get in touch directly with the individual. Eric Mason blocked me on Twitter a long time ago. Right? So, I mean, like, none of these people want to actually have conversation or engage in dialogue. Like, you think A.D. Robles, think about this. Do you guys think that A.D. Robles would turn down a conversation or an interview with Eric Mason? A.D. would turn the world upside down to make that happen. He'd fly. I know he would. All these people. He would love to have these conversations with them. But he's not given access. Yeah, well, with this sort of discussion that takes place, it's like, why don't you guys just have a conversation? Well, it's like they're not reachable. And if you ask them, they'll ignore your tweet. They'll look at how many followers you have to see if you're like worth the time. All these sort of things, right? Like those are things that happen, and to some degree that's true because I know like Jeff gets like requests all the time. He can't answer anyone. He probably, Ruslan says that he submitted a request for Jeff. Jeff probably just doesn't know who Ruslan is. So I would say that if Jeff is listening, I think Jeff should try to reach out to Ruslan and come on the show. I think that would be great. That would be tremendous, I think. And I think Ruslan would like to have Jeff on. But I don't work there anymore, so I'm not really capable of making those sort of decisions. Or even know what's going on. But I think Jeff would do it. But I'll do it too, Ruslan. I'll have that conversation with you. And we can talk as long as you want. It can be friendly and gracious and kind. It could be a good time. So that would be my suggestion. I would hope that happens. I would hope that happens. But Josh says yes. Major Williams is black. I just find it interesting that the Republican Party is ignoring Major Williams, from what I've heard. They're ignoring Major Williams for trans Bruce Jenner, which you know, is a powerful white male. That's ultimately what it is, right? Bruce Jenner's a powerful white male. He's a rich, wealthy white male. And they're overlooking Major Williams for that. So that's what I meant by, whoa, he's black. Because, you know, it just shows you the absurdity of this sort of intersection stuff. Everybody has intersections, and you're always going to overlook some, I guess, to accomplish the broader goal of getting a man dressed as a woman elected as governor. So anyway, not a good time. Not a good time. Anyways, guys, it has been fun. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Darren, for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the chat, having conversations and stuff too. Anyways, I really hope you guys have a great day and have a great weekend, and go to church on Sunday. All right.